Some of the best racing happens in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and one of the best racers our series has ever seen was Bobby Hamilton.
Bobby Hamilton takes the high side of the bench, and Bobby Hamilton will win the Easy Care 200. Bobby Hamilton.
Bobby Hamilton is a NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion.
It all started with a dream.
They always had a race car sitting right over in this corner.
A determination to be the best.
Bobby Hamilton, my buddy.
Bobby Hamilton did it his way. As a driver,
Here goes Hamilton to the outside.
as a human being, and as our friend. Nashville, Tennessee. Bobby Hamilton was raised by his grandparents.
This is where I was raised from. I don't remember when we moved here. I was so young till my grandparents died. Because I wanted to go see the race cars so bad, I'd get off my school bus at 3:15. Shop closed at 5 now. I'd walk all the way down there. I'd get there about 4:15, 4:20, hang out, watch the race cars for about 30 minutes, and get in the car and drive all the way back home. I did that every school day.
Bobby's grandfather, otherwise known as Preacher, was an auto mechanic by day and a race car mechanic by night.
There used to be a lathe that sit right there up under them steps, and my grandfather taught me how to use a lathe when I was about 8 years old, so I was all the time helping to make things or machining valves, or my big thing was getting a piece of brass and making everybody rings and giving them away.
He even built race cars for Nashville's own Opry legend, Marty Robbins.
Whatever they was doing with the race car over here, usually it was Marty's race car. Whatever was going on over there is where I hung around at. Down in the West Texas town of El Paso, I fell in love with a Mexican girl. Nighttime would find me in Rose's Cantina, music would play and Felina would whirl. See, you didn't think I listened to that, did you?
I know.
I come home from school one time, and I would get down here at the waterworks, and somebody picked me up, or Marty picked me up there, drove me down here. And I stopped in the office and was talking. We always had snack stuff up there. I was talking to my grandfather. Marty said, "Come out here, I need you to do something for me." He said, "Open that Hearst up right there and get me that box out of the back of it." And I opened it up and it was a guitar case. So I thought that's what he meant. And I brought it to him and he said, "Well, open it up." And I opened it up and it was a Martin guitar. And he had written a couple songs with it or whatever. And I said, "What do you want me to do with this?" He said, "It's yours." He gave it to me. So that was one of the coolest things that ever happened. I feel so fortunate that I was able to have the life, even though it was for like 12 or 13 years. And by the time I was 13 years old, they had passed away.
The passing of his grandparents would change Hamilton's life forever.
I didn't like the things that was going on after my grandparents died. I walked in at the shop and I seen people actually squabbling over personal property. And it was very uncomfortable for me, and I just left. I didn't live with nobody. I hit the streets, and I mean, me and my motorhome driver, he was from the neighborhood, David Short, we slept in cars, and we got a job at a gas station and slept in the back of U-Haul trucks for a year and a half.
We'd drive wreckers 12 hours a day, work on the race cars, you know, another 6, 8 hours at night, come in the morning. Every time we weren't on a wrecker call, we were tinkering with a race car.
Go in here, see who's here. It's Kay.
I remember driving records for a living. Dealing with that crap. I mean, just working late at nights, and good Lord, how dangerous is that?
At the wrecker service, one of the worst things we ever did probably was repo cars.
I can remember nights at that record company, one guy stuck a .45 pistol between my eyes and was pulling the trigger, and I had to hit him to keep him. I was hoping he'd just blow the side of my head off instead of the front of it. We had bunks in there, and the bottom bunk was always my bunk. And I rolled off and forgot I was on the top bunk, and I fell, landed right on my face, and the gun went off, and it missed the guy in the bottom bunk about this much and shot a hole in the wall. I was a rough character. And there's people that'll see this like, oh yeah, he's a rough character.
Early memories of Nashville Speedway captured the sights of some of today's legends of NASCAR.
It's just always been one of them racetracks that's been pretty special to everybody that come out of this part of the country.
And to the fans of Nashville, one name that stuck out was Bobby Hamilton.
The first time I met him, I probably am thinking, we got us a country bumpkin here. Not sure, I know Bobby has got it on the racetrack. There's no question about that. But the question is, does Bobby have it off the racetrack?
People thought, well, he's not never make it in racing because of the way he dresses or whatever, you know, or my hair was long or whatever. You know something, I couldn't afford to get my hair cut.
There's times that I can remember going through a drive-through and eating when he didn't, because I'm not hungry. Now I know they didn't have the money for me too, you know, for him to eat too.
I can remember Bobby Jr. coming to visit one time, and he come in. I just moved in. I was like, "Come on in, bud." Like, "How you doing?" He says, "Golly, Daddy, this place is a dump." I was like, "Well, welcome."
You walk in, there's the living room, the bedroom, and the kitchen all in one area, and there's a little bitty corner over there with the bathroom. There's a little bitty, like, you barely turn around in it, you know, and that's all they could afford.
And as a poor racer with rich dreams, Hamilton's luck began to change on a weekend in the late 1980s.
Darrell Waltrip let me drive his Busch car in 1988. Qualified it at Nashville. He just fell right in my lap.
By the time Waltrip landed in Nashville, Hamilton had qualified Darrell's car on the pole and fine-tuned it so well, Waltrip led almost every lap of the race and won by dominating his home track.
For him to give me that opportunity and him to come to this racetrack and lap the field and give me all the credit on this particular racetrack was a huge deal.
Realistically, there are 5 or 6 guys that have come through Nashville that are capable of driving a race car anywhere on any track. Bobby is definitely one of those, and you knew it by watching him.
At the time, a primetime Waltrip recommended to NASCAR owner Rick Hendrick that Bobby Hamilton would be a perfect candidate to drive a camera-rigged movie car for the shooting of Days of Thunder.
I mean, everybody has a hero, and for that hero to make a big impact on your life that you never met before, it just don't happen a lot.
Hamilton took full advantage of this opportunity, impressing some of the premier NASCAR owners. NASCAR legend Richard Petty quickly noticed Bobby's ability, and Hamilton landed a contract. Bobby Hamilton would be the next driver of the famed number 43 car.
67th career start. Bobby Hamilton is a first-time winner, and Petty Enterprises is heading back to victory lane.
Hamilton's first win as a driver also became a first win for the King as an owner.
All these years of working, paid off today anyway.
I just want to be the first one to win in Richard's car, and it feels pretty awesome.
Hamilton continued with 3 other wins in the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series.
Hamilton is the leader. Career start number 91. Raven will win. Hamilton will.
We never give up on one another, and Bobby's one heck of a race car driver. He made the decision to bring this car, and it was a little slower than our other car in the test, but it stayed under him all day. He's one heck of a man.
And a big old smile for the man from Nashville, Tennessee. Big victory for Bobby Hamilton.
But his most famous came just 2 months after the tragic death of the Intimidator.
Play both sides, Bobby, both sides.
Oh, he's got to go to the bottom, Darrell. Protect the bottom.
Protect the bottom.
Hamilton wins. Stewart is second, and they are 4 abreast for third. I believe Kurt Busch got it.
And I wouldn't even begin to guess for 4th back. I never saw anything like that in my life. I mean, I saw Bobby Hamilton win, but I never saw that many cars come across the line. And Bobby Hamilton, my buddy.
Catch your breath. Everybody in victory lane is in tears.
I learned so much from that fall race here. And if anybody rode with me, he did. Thanks.
That April day in 2001 would be the final win for Bobby in the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series. But his racing career was far from over. Bobby Hamilton's dream was to one day own his own race team. Bobby Hamilton's dream to one day race against the best became a dream to one day own the best. With an established Cup Series career, Hamilton parlayed his success into ownership in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
It's cool to see where it started.
There is Bobby Hamilton, 42 years of age from Nashville, Tennessee. Hamilton comes down out of turn 4 for the final lap and will win.
Bobby Hamilton has a victory in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. The Dana Dodge crew cheers on their team owner.
Having won a Truck Series race in Darlington in 2001, Hamilton built a multi-truck facility in his hometown of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, and began the 2003 season as a full-time driver-owner, doing it his way.
I knew what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I'd ever be able to do it. I knew that I was going to try to do it. And I did whatever it took.
Bobby Hamilton on the outside as they come through 3 and 4. Ted Musgrave on the inside. Bobby Hamilton is going to be able to close the door, and Hamilton wins the Craftsman 200.
It was everything that he wanted to do as far as I'm going to do it my way, because I know this way's better than the way I've been done or the way we've done it in the Cup side.
He knew his way of doing something would get him to where he wanted to go. So he was full speed ahead his way.
Coming at him, turn number 4, side by side. Here they come there. Quad oval. It's Bobby Hamilton, Mike Skinner, and Bobby Hamilton will win the Easy Care 200. Oh, what a finish!
Whenever he first come in, he told me, he says, hey, I'm going to run full-time next year. And I said, where do you want us to engrave the trophy at? And he said, no, let's don't get that far ahead. But, you know, that was the attitude he had. And everybody in the garage knew that when Bobby Hamilton crawls in a vehicle, that he was going to be one of the front runners.
This is the last lap. This will be for the win right here. The checker comes out for Bobby Hamilton, who wins the Bill Ford Tough 225.
Bobby Hamilton now with 7 wins in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
1 year later, the start of Hamilton's humble beginnings in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series became the pinnacle of his career, winning 5 races and bringing home the ultimate prize, a NASCAR championship.
When you say Bobby Hamilton Sr., you know, you're going to think of that truck and how he came out, you know, and dominated that season and won the championship. That, like I say, is always going to be in my mind.
Hamilton comes across the start-finish line as your 2004 champion.
Good job, guys. He wanted to do it as an owner-driver, and he did it, which is very difficult to go home during the week, I think, and focus on your business, and then go away on the weekend and focus on your driving.
And it was really neat when he put his own operation together, because he had the equipment he needed, and he had his knowledge, and he was able to win the championship quick.
There's only a select few that's ever won a NASCAR championship, period.
Bobby Hamilton is a NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion.
When you build your own team from scratch, and you get up in the morning and you're the one that's unlocking the door, and you're the one that's making all the decisions, you know, the main decisions, then you're the one that climbs in the thing. You're hiring the people that are helping you, and then you climb in the thing and you drive it, and then you get to stand on stage, and your team is the champion with you being the driver. That's it, man.
Although the following season of 2005 was a struggle, Hamilton was about to embark on his final race, a race against time, a race to save his own life.
I've had broke bones, I've had wrecks, I've had street brawls, I've had somebody try to blow my head off. I mean, I've had a lot of pretty red stuff to happen. I don't think it's going to stack up to what's happening now. Y'all remember at the end of last year when I had that wisdom tooth problem and all that stuff? I found out February the 8th that I got neck cancer. Bobby Jr. will start driving the Fastenal Dodge immediately after Atlanta. This is my last race. When I got down to the first doctor and he said, this is what we're going to have to do, and I'm like, hey, I'm a big boy. Take that white coat off and hang it on the door and tell me exactly what you mean. And he said, okay, I wouldn't want to be you. Basically, they found a place in the lower part of my neck here. That's what the treatments are for. That's what we're going after. And that's the extent of it. When it gets right down to it and it flashes in front of your eyes, you really need to look at what's important. I actually had a phone call this morning at home from Vanderbilt, and they had a lady to call me and say, hey, we deal with, you know, celebrities, we do VIP for them, stuff like that. And I'm like, if you don't mind, if it don't offend you, I had rather walk in the front door with all these patients and sit and talk to them and mingle with them. And I mean, I met a woman there, her son works for Jack Roush. I mean, she sat right beside me and explained her deal to me. It brings reality out, and that's reality. I mean, it happens, and you have to face up to it.
And Hamilton did just that. Throughout the next several months, Bobby underwent extensive chemotherapy and radiation treatments at Vanderbilt University a few miles away in Nashville, Tennessee. At the conclusion of his treatments, Bobby made his return to the racetrack.
This will be a pretty cool deal being first time back. I know things are going to be different because whenever the boss is around, things are always different, which hopefully will make things better. There's been a lot of concerned people that have called and wanted to check on stuff, and at least I'll be able to see people now.
Some days are easier than others. Some days Bobby wakes up and it's all business. I'm calling Dodge and I'm doing this, and I'm calling Fastenal and I'm doing this, and it's all business.
Having missed several months, Hamilton returned to the NASCAR garage to support his teams, but most importantly, to talk about his fight with cancer and how he'd changed his outlook on life.
Basically, what's going on is my treatment's been done for about 3 weeks. 4 weeks ago, my neck was completely cooked. It was nothing but raw red skin, and I wouldn't wish this on nobody. I used to look at somebody and said, I can't stand this or that. I can't say that no more. If you're a human being, I probably love you. Dad. What's up, bro? What you doing, pal? How you doing? You got my message the other day, didn't you? Yeah. Okay.
You look good.
I feel good.
What you doing, man? Lacing up your boots?
I'm through with all my treatments. Everything's good.
Well, man, I'm glad you're here.
Me too.
I'm glad.
Bobby Hamilton Sr. has made it back to the racetrack and back on the road to recovery.
I've had people come and visit me and things like that, but it's been so business oriented. I'm just here as the owner. If they need me, I'm here. I just want to sit up on the box and have a good time.
I think the thing that really has brought the most inspiration to this team is the fact that Bobby Hamilton himself is actually here, sitting on top of the pit box tonight as he has battled with head and neck cancer. But I'm telling you, when I'm around these teams, they've been pretty down the last few weeks. But when Bobby Sr. got here, everybody started joking, laughing, and telling stories. It is so great to see this man here. He has really been through a lot, and him just being here is a big inspiration to the whole BHR team.
On January 7, 2007, Bobby Hamilton lost his battle with cancer peacefully at his home in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. The NASCAR family and fans had not only lost a great competitor, but a friend, and a person who had learned to care more about others than even himself. Coming up, we remember some of the great stories told about Bobby Hamilton and the lasting legacy of one of NASCAR's old school racers.
I think the good Lord knows that he needed somebody up there in heaven with him to be able to race with the other drivers that are up there, and probably that's the reason that Bobby didn't beat it.
Off the track, Bobby Hamilton maintained a very personal life, but while in the NASCAR garage, Hamilton made it known exactly how much he dedicated his career to his peers.
You could never imagine that this gentleman that gets in a race vehicle and for 2 hours is a totally different person that whenever he crawls out.
You didn't get Bobby Hamilton, tough guy, when you walked in there to shoot the bull with him. I mean, as a fellow racer.
Every day that he was ever at the racetrack, he'd always come by and say hi, or just come in and say, hey, you got a second? And he'd shut the door, and I'd turn around from my desk, and he'd just get over on the sofa and lay back, and I go, okay. He said, I just needed a place to go to. Thought maybe you might be good company to talk to. So he was pretty neat about that. He was very passionate about the sport. He took it to the next level. He always thought about the people that worked around him, not necessarily just himself. And I think that's what most people will remember him about.
I have always been a huge supporter of what we do, because I feel like everybody that's involved in it, especially in our category, should be very proud and feel like they had a great opportunity to do what we do.
And as a leader, Hamilton did just that. Bobby's #1 priority was teamwork at BHR.
He had everything in place for his guys, and that's all he cared about. He come in many a times and he said, you know, it's not about Bobby Hamilton, it's about the people that work around you.
Hamilton understood the importance of surrounding himself with quality people.
You never heard him say I. I never one time heard him say the word I. It was always we.
And I always feel like the father figure almost. I have guys here that are my age or older, but I always feel like that they can lean on me for anything that they need.
And he thought of every one of the people that worked for him as his own brother.
You know, I feel like I'm responsible for all 40 of these guys, or whatever the number is. It's pretty close to that, times 5. I feel like I'm responsible for their family too. So I'm here if they need me. They're always here for me because I get in and drive something for a living that they put together.
During the day, he would just go out and sit with his legs crossed and his arm crossed right in the center of his garage, just to watch the guys work. Never bothered them, never said anything to them. Maybe told them a joke every now and then, but just sat and watched them work because that's how much he thought of them. He wanted them to know that he was there for them.
He's Bobby Hamilton, the same guy that used to drive at Martin's Wrecker Service. That's him.
Bobby Hamilton faced many challenges in his lifetime. He was a true survivor. However, cancer was the one battle that taught Bobby more about life than anything.
Bobby before was this hard-nosed race car driver. He didn't tell people how he felt. He kept this armor up around him. And I think Bobby learned to be more sentimental.
He didn't waver one bit from knowing that he could beat it. And I think the good Lord knows that he needed somebody up there in heaven with him to be able to race with the other drivers that are up there, and probably that's the reason that Bobby didn't beat it.
You know, you think you go through life, and as you get older, you lose friends because you're getting older and your friends are older, and you know, it's just tough. I mean, you lose good friends like that, and just why the good guys? I mean, he was a great person.
He was in a restaurant, and there was a kid sitting there with his dad, and his dad told a little boy, said, "There's Bobby Hamilton. He runs in the NASCAR circuits." And he said, "Why don't you go over and get him your autograph?" And the little boy told his dad, says, "I don't want to bother him." And Bobby heard that. So Bobby gets up from eating his lunch and goes over and sits down with the young man and sits there and spends an hour with him. That's just kind of human being that he was.
I won Martinsville, which I believe was in October, and he came to Victory Lane. And I was like, wow.
If 10 years from now somebody asked me what I remember about Bobby Hamilton, I remember his personality, to know that he cared about the people around him instead of himself, and he would rather for people around him to be happy and winning or being a competitor or just coming in a trailer just to have a time to himself away from the garage area. And I don't know, Bobby Hamilton's one of those people that you wonder how you would ever replace him, because he was such a fierce and great competitor, and he was definitely a great human being to everybody in the garage area.